Somewhere in the heart of the wilderness lies a place where silence reigns, and no creature dares to enter. Cut to a lone hiker, mid-30s, rugged and experienced, making his way through a steep trail. He wears a backpack and holds a map, looking confident and curious. They say no one returns from this forest. No animals, no birds, only stories. He glances at the tree line of the forest. His expression shifts from curiosity to slight unease. The hiker approaches the entrance of the forest, a wall of ancient trees. The air is still, with an unnatural absence of sound. But I've never believed in fairy tales. What's one more hike? He steps into the forest. Instantly, the air feels heavier, darker. The sunlight barely penetrates the canopy above. Close up on his feet as they crunch on dead leaves, the only sound breaking the suffocating silence. His voice echoes for a moment but dies quickly. There's no response, no movement. The hiker has ventured deeper into the forest. He looks around warily, the silence more intense, pressing on his ears. The deeper I go, the more I feel it, like something is watching, waiting. He suddenly stops, feeling a chill. The camera zooms in on his face, wide-eyed. Close up on the back of his neck, hair standing on end. The forest around him seems to shift, almost as if something unseen is moving just out of sight. A distant snap of a twig, but it sounds unnatural, echoing unnervingly in the silence. Is someone there? He scans the trees, but nothing is visible. His breathing quickens as he turns in a circle, sensing something closing in. The sky darkens, and the forest becomes even more oppressive. The hiker's steps quicken, his confidence waning. Suddenly, there's a faint rustling in the bushes, far off but getting closer, like footsteps, but faster than any animal. No, what is that? He breaks into a run, weaving through the trees. His footsteps are frantic, but the forest remains eerily quiet, except for the rustling, now much closer. The camera follows his panicked face, lit by fading sunlight. He's looking over his shoulder, unable to see what's pursuing him. The hiker stumbles into a small clearing, gasping for breath. The rustling has stopped, and all is quiet again. Hiker, maybe I lost it. Maybe it wasn't real. He cautiously moves to the center of the clearing, looking around for any signs of life. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by a deep, guttural growl that seems to come from all directions. What the? The unseen force rushes toward him, its speed impossible to track. The trees around him seem to close in, as if the forest itself is alive. He stumbles backward, terrified. His flashlight flickers and dies, plunging him into darkness. In total darkness, the hiker is heard scrambling, panting, desperate to escape. The camera lingers on the black void of the forest. A final breathless scream echoes through the trees, then sudden silence. Close up on his dropped flashlight, flickering for a moment before going out completely. The hiker stumbles back to his feet, still gasping for air. He pulls out his phone, trying to call for help, but there's no signal. He glances back at the forest edge, hesitating. Hiker, maybe it was just my mind playing tricks. I have to check. I can't leave my gear. Despite his better judgment, he re-enters the forest, slowly retracing his steps. The silence greets him again, heavier than before. As the hiker moves deeper into the forest, he begins hearing soft, indistinct murmurs. They grow louder the further he goes. It's as if the forest is alive, breathing and whispering around him. Hiker, I swear, I'm not hearing things. This place, it's haunted. He catches glimpses of movement in his peripheral vision, shadowy figures slipping just out of view every time he turns to look. You shouldn't have come back. The hiker freezes, looking around. The whispers grow more distinct, but he can't pinpoint their source. He follows the path, now fully alert, realizing it's not just random noises. There's an intelligence behind it. He comes upon more strange symbols etched into the trees. This time, they pulse with a faint, ominous glow. Hiker, what is this place? The camera zooms in on the symbols. As the hiker touches one of the glowing carvings, he flinches, feeling a shock like static electricity. The whispers turn into a cacophony of voices. Leave, now. As he pulls back, the forest seems to shift around him, the path twisting in unnatural ways. The trees seem to stretch and warp, making it impossible to tell which direction is the way out. The hiker spins in confusion. Hiker, no, this wasn't here before. Where's the way out? He tries to retrace his steps, but finds himself walking in circles. The forest appears to be changing, trapping him in a loop. The whispers intensify, growing into distorted laughter. Suddenly, the forest goes silent again. The oppressive feeling returns, heavier than before. A shape emerges from the shadows, a dark, towering figure with elongated limbs and no discernible face. The hiker backs away in terror, his heart racing. Hiker, oh God, what are you? The figure doesn't respond but moves closer, gliding rather than walking. Its presence distorts the air around it, causing the trees to twist and bend unnaturally. The hiker scrambles back, but the creature is relentless. In his panic, the hiker trips over a fallen branch and tumbles to the ground. The creature looms over him, its shadow stretching long and dark. Just as it's about to strike, the hiker pulls out a small object from his pocket, a pendant, glowing faintly. The creature hesitates, recoiling slightly from the light. Hiker, stay back! The light from the pendant seems to push the creature away, if only for a moment. The hiker takes his chance and scrambles to his feet, running faster than ever toward what he hopes is the forest edge. The hiker bursts through the tree line again, collapsing onto the ground, exhausted and shaking. The pendant still glows faintly in his hand. The camera pans to the treetops as the creature lingers at the forest's edge, unable to pass. Hiker, what was that? What is this place? For a moment, the forest seems peaceful again, but the atmosphere is different, as if the darkness is just waiting for another victim. The hiker stands up, looking back at the forest with a mixture of terror and awe. He opens a map on his phone, now with a faint signal, and notices something strange. The forest isn't marked. It's as if it doesn't exist. Hiker, this place, it's not supposed to be here. He looks at the symbols again, realizing they might not just be warnings, but a way to bind the creature inside. The hiker steps away from the forest, his pendant still glowing slightly. He leaves a marker at the entrance, his torn backpack, hoping to warn future travelers. Hiker, if anyone finds this, stay out. Don't make the same mistake I did. The camera pulls away, showing the hiker walking off into the distance as the forest looms ominously behind him. The whispers return, faint and unsettling. The final shot is from inside the forest, where the creature lurks in the shadows, watching the hiker leave. The symbols on the trees pulse faintly as the camera zooms in on the darkness, hinting that the hiker's escape may only be temporary. As the hiker moves further away, the forest seems to pulse, as if alive, releasing a faint, mesmerizing glow. The whispers grow louder once again, but this time they seem more inviting than threatening. Come back! Come back! The hiker stops in his tracks, feeling an overwhelming urge to turn around. He fights it, shaking his head as if trying to clear his mind, but the whispers are persistent, beckoning him back. Hiker, no, I won't go back. I'm free now. He pulls out the glowing pendant again, clutching it tightly as the whispers fade. But the forest looms behind him, its presence still tangible and suffocating. The hiker continues down the path away from the forest when he stumbles upon something he hadn't noticed before. A makeshift memorial, hidden just beyond the tree line. It's a small clearing filled with old, worn-out belongings, backpacks, shoes, tents, all covered in dirt and moss. Hiker, what is all this? He looks closer, realizing these items belong to other hikers, campers, people who had never made it out. Faded photographs and letters are strewn about, telling stories of the forest's past victims. The realization hits him hard. He's not the first, and he won't be the last. Hiker, they never left. He kneels, examining a worn map marked with strange symbols, similar to those carved into the trees. It's a crude but incomplete map of the forest's boundaries, hinting at a potential safe route or exit that had been missed by the others. The hiker begins to leave the memorial behind, his face pale from the new discovery. As he walks, he hears a distant voice call his name. Hiker's name. Come back. He freezes. The voice is eerily familiar. It sounds like someone he knows, perhaps a loved one or an old friend. The whispers return, and now they take on the form of familiar voices, all calling his name. He turns slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. Hiker, that can't be real. They're not here. The camera zooms in on his terrified face as the voices surround him, growing louder and more convincing. He backs away slowly, refusing to be drawn back into the forest. Some forests should never be entered, and some shadows never truly fade.